Hi and welcome back to another YouTube video. It's been quite some time, I think around 2 months, since I made my last YouTube video, and that's primarily down to me just having a lot of work projects that were on. I was very busy at work, and also just like other personal life events that were happening, and it just meant that I couldn't sit down and record some YouTube content. But I'm trying to make it more of a priority to keep up with the regular YouTube content, just because I got a whole backlog of ideas that I want to record stuff around. So one of the things that happened to me over the last couple of months was I got promoted at work. So I am now a senior solutions architect, and really happy about that. Great result. So happy, just happy with the outcome. One of the things that really helped me to get this promotion is just keeping a track of all the work I'd been doing over the last 18 months to 2 years in something which I call an achievement log. And I've done this for this job and previous jobs as well. And it's really helped me to either, as part of a performance review, get a pay rise or go for a promotion or even apply for a new job. And I think a lot of times we put the onus of this, of gathering all that data and making sure that the great work that you're doing is being seen onto your manager. Whereas the documentation of all that, it should be your responsibility. If you want to progress and make something of your career, then you need to be gathering all the data points which help you, which push you in that direction. And so I've been using this method for, a few years, and like I mentioned, it's worked out really well for me. It's super simple. And I just thought I'd make a quick video showing you all how I capture that information in a really simple way. And hopefully you can set up the same sort of thing. And if you're going for a promotion or for a new job, then this technique can work out really, really well. It's also another quite nice benefit of it is, often we get wrapped up in our day-to-day work. Things move fast, you move on from one thing to the next, and you kind of miss details and things like that, right? So one, it's great to capture that information, those details. But another really nice thing is when you look back at the type of work you've done a few years ago, you may think back and think, wow, at the time, that was really tough. It really pushed me out of my comfort zone and out of, even my knowledge zone. And you think to today where that might be a standard thing, and you think if someone tasked me with that, I'd be able to do that no problem. But it's great to reflect back and just see how far you've come, because that one, it boosts your confidence, and two, it reduces imposter syndrome. So it's a really important practice, both from a personal development point of view, but also just kind of nice to remember those memories. So I want to keep the introduction short. Most of the focus here is on what we'll be doing on the computer in just a minute. But I just wanted to set some context as to why I haven't uploaded any videos recently and what's kind of been going on in the background. So with that, let's head over to the computer and I'll run you through my template. Okay, so for the purposes of tracking, you can really use any tool you want. The tool really doesn't matter. It's the data you're collecting. So whether you use Excel, whether you use Notion, Google Sheets, Trello, Asana, Bear, whatever the tool is, Apple Notes, it really doesn't matter, as long as you can access this information easily, and there's a backup of the information if you ever lost it. So for simplicity's sake, I'm just using Google Sheets because it's Google Sheets because it's super easy to set up. And I've got a basic template of what I use. Obviously, it doesn't have my data in, but these are the columns effectively that I have in my achievement log, and I'm going to call it the achievement log going forwards. So the first thing really to do is to get a copy of your role guidelines, and probably HR or your manager should be able to give you this, or you'll find it on some sort of internal portal. And the reason we want to look at the role guidelines is so you have a really clear understanding of what is expected from you at your current level, right? So what are the things that you are expected to do in order to basically earn your salary? Have a read through it, really understand that. Those are the things, you should be meeting all of those, right? But typically when you go for a promotion or for a new job, you want to be showing that you're doing the work already of the next level above. And that's really key in this part here. So don't just read the role guidelines for your level, read the role guidelines for the level above as well. Now, you probably don't need to tick off every item from the level above, but at least if you can show that you're doing some of those, then that strengthens your promotion case. Okay, so let's take a look through some of these columns that I have here and some of the items that I track. Now, the first one is domain. So in your job guideline, there probably will be a set of sections that you're assessed against, right? So it could be sales, it could be leadership, it could be the amount of business you're driving or internal programs that you're driving. Whatever those domains are, start to break them down by that part first. So just as examples here, I've got, for example, team growth. So this is where you are growing the capabilities of your team. I've got customer delivery. So this is where you're actually working with customers and this is your project style of work. And then I've got learning and training. How are you yourself growing? What kind of training are you doing? What sort of certifications, etc. Right? That might be more, there might be more examples than just that, but start with the domain, right? These are the top level topics that you're going to be looking at. The next thing we want to be tracking is the subdomain. So the subdomain is, for example, team growth, right? That could be mentoring. That could be some sort of anything else that's to do with your team growth, right? You may have a goal around it. So create a topic or create a subcategory around each of those areas. Now, the next part, the topic, is a high-level description of what you've done. So let's say you're the mentor for 3 different people within your team or within the wider organization, right? So you're going to have a high-level topic. This is a high-level description. It's not going into any detail. It's just so you can have a quick glance and know, okay, this is what this line item is about, right? So it has one sentence. Keep it brief. The next thing we have there is the date started and date completed. Now, these can be optional, but it's good to just show, how much effort did I actually put into this? Was this project done over a timeline of weeks or was it months? So, right, it just gives you some sort of idea as to, the relative effort that you've put into this line item. Now, the next part, the overview, is probably arguably one of the most important areas here, because the overview is exactly what you did. And in here, you should aim to make things impact or outcome driven rather than input driven. And what I mean by that is often, let's take the example of mentoring. Let's say I mentored one person. Here, the key question that managers will ask is, okay, so, you mentor the person, that's great. What exactly was the impact or outcome of that? Right, so if you can't show that your action had some sort of result or some sort of outcome, then it's really hard for people to say, that's a great job. However, if you said, look, I mentored this person, they're really not confident in leading customer meetings. After we did some mentoring over 5, 6, 7 weeks, they were able to lead a customer meeting and they got really good feedback from that customer saying they were happy with how the meeting went. So that's you showing your impact, right? That's you showing that I did some mentoring and now that person has been empowered to go ahead and lead customer meetings themselves. And this is what you really want to document in this area. So here we've got situation. So what is the context? Give some context about, what you're describing. The task at hand. So this is really your challenge. What was the challenge that you were trying to overcome? So in this case, the person's asked you for help because they don't feel confident delivering a customer or client meeting. Next is the action. What did you do to help address this? So maybe you let that person reverse shadow you or shadow you initially in some of your customer meetings. Maybe you then did some reverse shadowing and kind of gave some feedback points. And then, maybe you did some ongoing coaching and some best practices when running customer meetings. And then finally, the result. What was the actual outcome of this? So that overview is really important because it gives you a cohesive story and a coherent story that you can tell to your managers, or you can describe in a promotion panel about what you did and what the result was. The next topic is around key people. So who are the key people involved? Now in mentoring, maybe this is not, this is going to be your the mentees. But especially if you're looking at client work, it could be, the customer sponsor, or it could be a senior leadership person, either in your organization or in the customer's organization. So make sure you make a note of that and what that role is. If you can show that you're consistently working with people who are more senior than you, then that gives more credibility as to why you should be a higher level or the same level as that person. Right? So make a note of those key people. Key data here is also really important. So here we're looking for things like CSAT scores, so that's customer satisfaction, any type of numerical feedback. So let's say you ran a training program to enable people in your team to become more competent on AWS Cloud and take their Cloud Foundation exam. Right? So let's say you had 14 people in the class, and 12 of those passed it the first time. That's a great piece of key data. Right? Make sure you log that. All these types of metrics and quantitative data is great when it comes to giving your promotion case. Another example is, let's say you did a talk on stage and you asked everybody to give you a score out of 5. Let's say the average score over 100 people was 4.3. Put that metric in there. That's great for qualifying what your impact was. Next is around the feedback. So here we're looking for that qualitative element, right? Let's say somebody in a senior position said, you did a really great job and the outcome wouldn't have been possible without you. Whether that's verbally, ideally make sure you get this in email or in writing. It just makes it a bit more concrete. But make sure you ask for feedback. At the end of a project, make sure you go to that person or to somebody and say, look, I think I did a good job. If you wouldn't mind providing some feedback on my contributions, I'd really appreciate that. 9 times out of 10, they won't say no. They'll send you over some email feedback, either to you or directly to your manager, or they might CC your manager in. Make sure you save those emails and somehow link it back to this spreadsheet. If you want, you can just copy and paste the context of the feedback in, but make sure you still have a copy of that email. And then finally, I've got this column called next level. Now, remember when I said you want to be looking at doing tasks which are at the next level, so you can show I'm already working at that level and so I should be promoted into that level? In this column, you want to make some notes. So, how have you met what the next level guidelines say? So maybe just make a note of that next level guideline of, here's the line item that it says in the next level up and here's how I met it. So it's a really simple tracking mechanism. Do it, once every other week or set a calendar reminder, once a week on a Friday afternoon just to quickly fill this in. You don't have to fill in every minute detail, just things which are relevant, right? Especially if there's impact or outcomes. Definitely capture those. If there's feedback scores you've got, if there's CSAT scores you've got, capture all of that kind of stuff. And, over a 6-month period, over a year, refine this with your manager, make sure they're up to date and they know what you're working on. And then when it comes to the end of the year and you've got to provide some sort of documentation of, why you should get promoted or why you should have a certain performance score or promotion or pay rise, then you've already got the information. You can just write this into a document format. So give it a go. And like I mentioned, you can use any sort of tool. I was using Notion for a while, but I found that a spreadsheet was a bit easier to maintain. So whatever tool works for you is great. Okay, so I hope that was really useful for you. Like I said, it's been sort of invaluable for me over the last year or so building up my promotion case. And it's also been invaluable when I've been looking to change jobs. So go ahead, set it up. It only takes you 5 minutes. And like I mentioned, if you fill it in every other week or just even once a month, that's more than enough. As long as you're capturing the right data, that's more than enough to give you that bundle of information that you need at your fingertips when someone asks for it. So if you did enjoy that video and you want to learn a bit more about tech, tech in general, careers in technology and productivity, then please head over to my channel and consider giving it a subscribe. Thanks, and see you in the next video.